Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk Luxury. I'm your host, Alex Brandau, a Nashville, Tennessee-based global luxury real estate specialist and someone who is endlessly curious about the people and stories behind refined experiences. On this show, we go beyond the surface, diving deep into the craft, culture, and character behind what luxury really means today. All right, it's Let's Talk Luxury, and boy, do we have a great conversation today. Chef Dev, what's good, man?
Hey, y'all, I'm doing really well. Alex, I'm excited to talk to you, talk a little bit of luxury, a little bit of food, maybe a little bit of real estate. I think it's going to be a good conversation.
Listen, I think we got two experts on all those things, so I think everybody's going to be thrilled. Give us a little bit of your background and your bio for people that are just learning about you today.
Sure. So, well, I can say this, y'all. Alex has me up early in the morning. I don't know if you know, but I mean, chefs, we party all night, we sleep all day. This is early for me. So,
No doubt. No doubt.
My name's Devin Epps, y'all. As y'all can tell, I love to have fun, and I'm a private chef here in Nashville. But I go anywhere. I travel a lot, and I've been doing so for a while. And so I grew up here in the Nashville area, specifically in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, and played basketball. And I think, at that time, it was just a full circle moment because I ended up playing college basketball in Mobile, Alabama, at the University of South Alabama. I ended up meeting my wife there. I would say my cooking career, I think, started there. Even earlier than that, my mom had a catering company and I worked for her a lot just on the weekends, kind of building the passion for cooking. And then when I got to school as a college athlete, that was before NIL, any of that. And so we didn't have a lot of money. We got what they gave us and, we had to make the rest other ways. And so for me, on Sundays and Saturdays, I would get in my apartment, my dorm kitchen and cook it up. I would do barbecues out there on the pool. I would invite people over Sundays and have them over for a $5-10 meal, post my food on Instagram and they would buy it then. And so at the time, I didn't know what I was doing. I knew I could cook. I knew I enjoyed having people over and just entertaining, but I didn't know it would turn into this career as a private chef, specifically for professional athletes. And so, that's the short version of a pretty long background, 29 years old. So I can talk about 29 years of experience, but more specifically, it was really in my early 20s when this all got started. And later on, this ended up turning into this career that I've built. And so I worked in a lot of restaurants in New York, interned at the Food Network. I've worked for a lot of athletes that you may or may not know. And so looking back, I built a really good career for myself and I'm proud, but I still have a ways to go.
No doubt. I'll always be learning and growing, right? So, well, tell us how you did that. I mean, it sounds like a very specific pattern that you identified that you were good at something, but then how did you do what a lot of people want to do, break into the NBA and the NFL as, one of those unique vendors that gets to work directly with the athletes in those leagues?
Man, that's a really good question. A lot of it was, I'm not afraid to admit it, a lot of it was luck, but I had a conversation with my mentor literally last night and he was saying, the cliche, luck is when opportunity meets preparation. And I always kind of gave myself the most at bats. And so you guys can look at my social media profiles. Like at the time, I really posted a lot. I was the type of guy I would post at least 5-6 times a week. My food, whether it was a food video or a recipe or just whatever I was up to at the time. And, once people get used to seeing you around and what you're passionate about, people start to reach out. I mean, especially in today's day and age, you post a story, people can reply directly to that story. Like I was posting it before that was even a thing. And so when I was just posting on my feed, a lot of people would comment like, oh, what's the price of this dish? Or, can you make this? And, people just got interested. Food is a window to a lot of people's hearts and souls. And so I wouldn't say I was taking care of people's souls, but I would say I just, feeding people really does create a unique relationship. And so I think once people saw my food on social media, and they were able to taste it like that same day or at least within the same time frame, I think it just built a really stable audience for me, people that still follow me to this day from college and shortly after. So I think that's really what led to this. But I think at the end of the day, it's just me standing on being myself and just really just that. I mean, imparting everything that I know about food into, my service and then going from there.
Yeah. Well, we shared as we were doing the pre-call here that, we both have crossed over in and out of professional sports and have that unique and grateful for that opportunity. But it's definitely luck tends to follow a lot of preparation and hard work in my experience. So you had a great humble answer, but I also know you were getting after it to earn it. And the reality is, and being that specialist inside of something and knowing
that it's going to help, especially with an athlete where their food and their intake really directs their performance is so
Yeah.
critical. And so I can tell you that I know that luck was based on hard work and, knowledge. And so in both of our worlds, that matters, that you've got to be an expert in something. Being too much of a generalist, it just wouldn't happen. So
Yeah, you're
kudos.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Kudos
And
to
I
you
appreciate.
for doing that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you're right. I appreciate that. You do. I didn't even, I guess I didn't really think about that, but you do have to find a way to stand out, and being too general or just not having something that you're known for, it does make it harder for you to be like, you want people to be like, oh, that's that guy that does this or that girl that's known for that. And so I think you can always kind of break out of your niche, but it's hard to not have a niche and then try to pitch one to people. So yeah, you're right about that.
Listen, be careful. If you pick a bow tie, you got to wear it all the damn time. And whether you want to or not, because I have people all the time not recognize me because I don't have my tie on. And, post pandemic, it's a whole new world. So be careful if you're out there listening, picking your brand and your image. Be careful, go with the trucker hat and the hoodie instead of the bow tie because it's way more comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, it looks good on you. I don't know what to say. I mean, look, a lot of guys have made a living off of a bow tie. And so
No doubt.
I think it's up to you how far you want to take that.
No doubt. Well, I mean, pre-pandemic, I was 7 days a week. Anytime you saw me out, it was up. But now, it's rare to see somebody at a tie. So it is good. We get a little different level of service. I get a lot more sirs when I have, the tie on. Yes, sir. Come on right in here. Yes, sir. Good to see you.
Yes, sir. I respect it.
Well, tell us about your philosophy, with professional, level cooking and making it accessible to home cooks as well as just the general population.
Yeah, well, that's a good question. So I don't ever get asked that directly a lot because I don't think a lot of people know to ask that. A cooking philosophy, can mean a lot of things. For me, what I tell a lot of my prospective clients and even current clients as we get more acclimated is just, you don't have to, a lot of athletes struggle with weight, whether it's gaining or losing it. And so let's just say, for example, it's losing weight because a lot of people can resonate. We're a big country. And so you don't have to take away the things that you enjoy eating. You really don't. And so when we're talking about let's talk luxury and what defining luxury is, I think defining luxury in my service is owning your time back and then owning your freedom of choice back. So that means if you're contacting your private chef, I've worked some late hours. I mean, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning after games. It just happens. It's the way it goes. And so, instead of door dashing food or instead of only getting what the team provides to you or anybody provides to you, you could say to your private chef, hey, Chef Dev, had a rough game. I need some carbs. Can you make that spaghetti dish, whatever it is. And, for some people that might be unhealthy. If you're trying to watch your carbs, that might be something that you don't want or need, but, you can have red lentil pasta. You can have your brown rice pasta and kind of cut back on your carbs. You can do turkey instead of beef or chicken sausage instead of a pork sausage. Like you can make those adjustments and still find dishes that you really enjoy that are flavorful and that are also good for you. And so whenever I'm talking to a prospective client, that's one of the things that I really try to nail home because oftentimes I'm getting a phone call from the team nutritionist saying, hey, this guy needs to lose such and such. And it's like, okay, cool. He's not going to lose it next week. How can we create a sustainable plan for him or her to lose it over the course of time? Or, hey, he needs to gain weight. It's like, well, no, let's not just shove junk food, into his kitchen. Like, let's talk about like how he can still enjoy his food while having a calorie dense meals time and time again. And so for me, that's my philosophy when it comes to just working with clients, because oftentimes I'm working with younger people. They're anywhere between 19 to 28 years old. And they have their preferences and they're kind of stuck in their ways. Everything that they've done up until this point has worked. And so when you get to a league like the NBA and the NFL and the MLB, I mean, it's the smallest things that you can do to make a difference in your game that really put you a notch above the rest. It's going to be your mind, your body, and your spirit. And so if I can feed someone and kind of help them foster that relationship with their body and, hopefully it translates to their sport, that's really cool. And that's the thing I try to preach to people all the time.
I love that. So tell me, You got me interested. Tell me a
Sure.
story that you've had a client, keep their, respect their privacy. But
Sure.
tell me a client that was like, man, I really love this, and how you worked it into their, like if they said, like, I
Mm,
don't know why I'm thinking about this, like
mm.
Takis. Like Takis are not good for you, but people like them, and oh my God, they're addictive. And so something like that, that someone was like, oh my God, I got to have Takis, but you found a way to work it into their plan.
Yeah. I mean, the first one that I can think of is just burgers. Everyone loves a good hamburger, cheeseburger specifically, a bacon cheeseburger more specifically. And, it's just like, you could eat something worse. You could fry the whole thing and it could be worse, technically,
Yep. Yep.
But it's also not a super healthy meal in and of its own right. And so the way that I ended up making this is a meal that I did for a tasting to get this client. And so I was like, okay, you like burgers? Let's do this. Let's make our brioche bun. So it was 4 ingredients, but you got butter, you got egg, you got water, you got flour. You need some leavening too, baking soda or baking powder. So we made that, and yeast. So we made our homemade bun. We did just, A1, not A1, it wasn't Wagyu, but it was like grass-fed beef, 80-20. We did beef bacon, and then I left off the cheese, And so
Okay.
we did that version of a burger. I think I did like a jalapeno jam. That was really good too. Low sugar. I made it with honey and agave nectar instead of sugar. Great burger. Great burger. I fried the fries in beef tallow. You can also do avocado oil. In and of its own right, it's still not technically a healthy meal. It's much better than something you would get from Whataburger, In-N-Out,
Yeah.
Shake Shack.
Yeah.
And that was my version for him. And he really enjoyed it. I still have that client to this day. And so, that's the way that I really kind of like speaking back to what I was talking about in just terms of making things healthier. I felt like that was the most approachable thing. It's like, you like a burger, I'm not going to rob you of that, dude. I really think we can find a way to make this work for you. No, you can't have them every day, but it's like when you do have your cheat day, it's still in line with your goals. And so I can go up and down on examples, but I'm not afraid to fry something as long as it's not in the seed oil. Animal fat is best. You can use your dairies as long as it's clean. Like, I think you can still enjoy your life and enjoy your food. You just have to do everything in moderation. And so, I'm not technically this, but I'm a nutritionist of sorts. Like, I'm able to track, hey, you've had fried food 3 times this week or once today. Maybe let's not fry something else. And so that's really how I go about it, is just like approaching things in moderation. And when it is time to splurge, you do it the right way.
So you're just talking about different clients and maintaining them. Tell us a little bit about your workflow when you're, if you're 15 or 20 clients deep. I mean, you can't be doing custom meals for each one, 3 meals a day. Tell
No,
us a little bit how that workflow works in your work.
I learned that the hard way. I'm just,
Don't we all?
man,
Don't
yeah,
we all?
I'm an ambitious person. You think you can do it all. You can't. And you really need a good team by your side. And I feel like I have built that. I've run a business named Primetime Hospitality Group for the past 3 years. And what we really focus on is just staffing and placing chefs. You can say nationwide, but we really focus on the Nashville area and the Southeast. And so we've placed over 8 to 10 chefs, which, doesn't seem like a lot, but with such a niche service, I mean, me still being a full-time private chef, I mean, it is a feat. It's something that I'm proud of. And so, I have had the privilege of doing that a few times. I mean, they've worked out well for the most part. And I think when you're doing that, we focus on the training and just making sure, if you're just graduating from culinary school or if you are an active private chef, you have the tools, literally and figuratively, to, make sure your client is happy. The household that you're cooking for is happy, because what you do in one household may not work in another.
Right.
What you do for one athlete and one sport may not be conducive to the next. And so really just figuring out how to speak the language of clients is really how we go about expanding our reach, because you might think a client needs something. They might think they need a specific service, but once you talk to them a little bit more, it's like, oh, you don't need a 5-bedroom house. You need a 3, or
Right.
you don't need, 10 acres of land. You just need 2 to do what you want to do. And so
That's right.
we take the same approach and just kind of talking to them, listening to them and figuring out what's needed, and then going from there.
Yeah, ours comes up. The one that we get most commonly is like, "Oh, I need privacy." And I'm
Yeah.
like, and you're like, okay. And everyone wants privacy, right? And very few people want it. And you're like, well, what does that mean? And I'll
Yeah.
never forget, I had the client that I learned through with that was, what he meant was he didn't need a lot, and he didn't, he wasn't doing anything particularly nefarious. He just meant that his house was completely surrounded by woods. No one could see him come or go. And that was it. He goes, it can be half an acre if I have no visibility. That's what privacy meant to him. Now,
Interesting.
privacy means other things to other people for other reasons,
Right.
and those are theirs, whether it's a public figure or any number of other things. I had a client recently had a very big professional business exit, and it was not a glamorous one nor a high profile one, but their world changed in a
Wow.
big way, and they became a multiple become a family, and several of them, and then all of a sudden they realized they were now going to be a target, and their
Yeah.
needs of privacy and security changed dramatically. So
Wow.
yeah, it's interesting. That's the one that I get that's like, oh, we need privacy. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's always you might as well hear the red light, screeching brakes. We're like, hold on, we need to lean in on that. And you either learn that, by going through it, as you do. You could assume that someone's trying to put on weight, but actually if they're an MLS player and they're running 6 miles a day per game, they're going to drop that weight. They actually are calorically
Absolutely.
dense.
You know your stuff, Alex. I like it.
I mean, listen, we did a little
You
prep
know your
for
stuff.
this. We want to give good for people that are spending time with us, So, well, tell me this: what about is there a particular dish that maybe changed the way a client thought about food, like a specific one that's like I'm going to get this one, and really help them?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever had a particular dish
Okay.
just change the way that anyone's looked at food. That's a great question. I don't think
Yeah.
so. No.
Okay.
But what I can tell you is this. I think going just back to my cooking philosophy, not to beat a dead horse, but I do think like once, you only know what you know about food. You don't know some things can even be homemade. Like it really does get that deep. I mean, I remember I'm a chef, and I remember when I was probably, I don't know, 17, 18 years old, and someone made tortilla chips for the first time. And I'm like, you just fry the corn tortillas? I remember I'd done that for somebody and they were like, what are you making? I'm like, chicken chips. They're like, what? They're like, yeah, this is how you make
Right
them.
here.
And so
Right now.
I will say, like, making things from scratch really does expose people to like, oh, like that's what's in ranch, or that's what's in such and such. So I do really focus on, the company as a whole focuses on scratch cooking. And so when you do that, you do expose people to a lot of things that, they just may not know beforehand. So that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, is there a misconception that you found that people have around private chef industry and you as as an individual private chef?
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely a misconception. I guess it depends on your perspective and how you look at it initially, but they're just, I guess I would say most common, but just an alarming, or a misconception that maybe I had, I can say that, is that this life is luxurious for the chef. And it's not. It really isn't. When you break down what you're doing, like, yes, I've gotten to cook in some amazing homes, not even just for athletes. I'm talking about, this was when I was just doing private events for bachelor parties and bachelorette parties and corporate events. You just get to meet a lot of people that are just doing their thing. I mean, as a lot of people know, private chefs and caterers are not cheap. Anybody that's paying you is obviously doing something right. And, you get to just the chance to have conversations with people, especially if it's a long-term client. But at the same time, their luxury is not yours. You're there to do a job. And so you get to cook in a nice place. I don't have nice equipment, nice kitchens. You get to fly around. But that's kind of where the luxury stops, because, you are going to be working long hours. You're going to be prepping the day before. You're going to be caught off guard with, more attendees than you may have anticipated. And you're going to be called last minute. I think you have to be prepared for that and be able to show up and show out if your number is called, no pun intended. And so if you are going to kind of go down this path, not just as a private chef, but just as a chef in general, understand that it's a demanding industry, and that, with the glamour comes a lot of hustle, a lot of sweat, a little bit of confusion, and a lot of self-doubt. At least that's how it worked out for me. But on the opposite end of that is just a really fulfilling career. Like, you get to feed people. I think that's dope.
No doubt.
I really just can't thank my clients enough, and just like, I don't know, I guess my mom enough and stuff like that, just for like fostering that creativity. Cause I'm a young, Black guy at the time that liked to cook. Like, that's not really like sexy material. That's more so like stuff people make fun of you for. But no one ever really did. I never really struggled with people, not believing in me, or not wanting me to do something else. Like, I always just kind of make the joke of, I was the guy. You ever seen High School Musical?
Of course.
The basketball player, I was baking the cakes. Like, that was me. I literally was that guy in high school and college. And, instead of getting made fun of
With
for
the
it,
fro
people were
too,
like,
you had it all grown all the way out.
I had braids.
Okay.
I had a high top when I braided it. Sometimes I had all of that.
Yeah.
And so no one ever like made me feel bad for what I was passionate about. And I just really can look back and just thank everybody for that, because self-doubt at that age it's a pivotal age. That's really a formative time in your life. And I think if I struggled with self-identity at that point, I really would have struggled to kind of take this career as far as it's gone.
So true. It's so true. When you're going through it, people often want the glamour, but aren't willing to do the work for the glamorous parts. You
A
win
little
those,
bit. Yeah.
you know, they're
Yeah.
like, I mean, I run into that with real estate agents all the time. They're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing that you worked with, Superman. And you're like, Superman, but Superman, like it took
Yeah.
a minute. You had to find Clark Kent to get to work with Superman. You
Yeah.
didn't know. And you had to do the work there too to climb that ladder and get there. And you definitely did that, especially to be having the success and the repertoire that you have, already
Heck yeah,
at
man.
29.
I
Tell us
appreciate
about
that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You know, you wouldn't be here if you weren't.
That's true. That's true. I'm here in the flesh today.
You're here. You're doing it. So tell us about your ideal client. I mean, you're talking about maybe someone's never experienced or has had different experiences. Tell us about whether it's imaginary and you hope them to be, or just one that actually happened.
Yeah. You know, I've had a lot of different clients. And they're not all good. And that's not as a condemnation on them as people. It's more so like not everybody is the right fit for you or for me specifically speaking. And so the ideal client is someone to me that is responsible. And that can mean a ton of different things but that's
Mm.
meaning like, okay, if you have a game at 4 o'clock, and you want to eat your meal at 2, you know, don't wake up at 1:30 and roll out of bed and eat your meal. Like, get ready to go. Like your game's at 4 or whatever. That's maybe arbitrary, but whatever it is, like if you got a time that you want to eat your food, I'm busting my butt to make your meal at this time and have it ready for you. I ask for people to respect my time as well. And in return, I do the same thing. I mean, I'm not perfect. I've been late before, but I can confidently say I've never made someone late. Like I've never served a meal late or things like that. And so I would say my ideal client also um, just has a factor of professionalism that kind of goes into this responsible respect word that I'm using. I think, if you want to lose weight and that's your goal, don't sneak a Twinkie to bed. Because like I know I'm doing my part and you're going to your facility and you're weighing in. It's like, oh man, you're still gaining weight and no one knows why. And it's like, man, you got a stash of whatever in your room and you're snacking on them at night. And so I think just have whatever you do permeate throughout the rest of the things that you do. Don't make yourself look bad and in turn make the people that you're working with look bad in the public eye and in private as well. And so
Mm.
I just look for people that have high character. I'm similar to, I guess, the GM in that regard. Like, I don't want to be associated with knuckleheads, with people that aren't about their business and that don't have goals for themselves, because 9 times out of 10, someone is hiring me to save them time and help them fulfill their goals. And so I just hope for the same thing in return, because I get that, the position I have is a bit subordinate in nature, but that doesn't mean I'm less than as a person. And so I think
Yeah.
I just wish for people to respect the craft, and most people do. And so I continue to wish for clients that respect the craft and understand the value that we bring. And I've never really run into many problems with that at all, honestly.
No doubt. It's really hard when you're like, I'm doing it for your good. Like we're
Yeah,
we're doing this for you.
exactly.
This isn't a battle. So yeah, well said.
Thank you.
What about how do you balance tradition with innovation in your cooking?
I don't even know how to answer that. How do I balance tradition with innovation? I get what you're asking.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think when you're talking about something like that, I'm still pretty young. You don't want to piss anybody off. And so
Mm.
you see a lot of people do like fusion cuisines, and great. Like I love a Korean barbecue taco. Awesome. That sounds really good. I have one. There's a place around here that sells them. I've had that before. And it's like, I don't think anyone's getting mad at that because it's delicious. But it's when you start doing things, and you said this in the before we got on our recording, you're like, hey, I'm not going to ask you anything for shock value. That's not what this is. And so
Right.
I think when you see the food content that is for shock value, and it's just it's unfortunate because you're wasting food for one. People are hungry out here. And I
For sure.
think when you do that, you start to disrespect, people that have grown the food, the manufacturers that have made the food, the people that don't have the privilege of having readily made food. Like, I think tradition and balancing that with innovation just has to come from an honest place of me. Hey, I'm trying to make something delicious. I had an idea and I thought this would work.
Mhm.
Because sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. But I think as long as you are understanding the heritage of the food that you're making, as long as you're respecting the animal that it came from or the farmers that grew it, and not just putting things to waste, not doing things just for your own vanity, you won't go wrong trying to do something new. I think people will appreciate it. And so I think without knowing it, that's the way I've always tried to approach it.
I love that.
Mm.
I couldn't agree more. Amen
Yeah.
from the choir. Keep preaching. Well, what about some trends you're starting to see with your clients right now?
Yeah. So and that's funny you ask, because I was just, I wouldn't say talking about it with anybody other than myself. I was just kind of looking at my email and seeing what's coming in and going out. And a lot of athletes are hiring private chefs, even if it's part time, come in a couple times a week. Cause depending on your sport, you travel a lot. And so you won't necessarily need someone full time, but a lot of these guys and gals have families that they want to take care of. And so they know if they're going to be on the road, it's like, hey, my wife could use a break with the 4, 8 kids, whatever they have. Can you come by and cook lunch and dinner, or, prep a couple meals for them a few times a week? That's a very common ask that we get from
Mm,
not just athletes, but business people as well. I talked to a
mhm.
lawyer yesterday and her husband. They're like, we're super busy. We don't have time to cook. We're not particularly good at it. We need someone, if we can outsource a part of this, that would be luxury to us. And so
Mm,
that's a huge thing that I'm happy to do, because a lot of the misconception that we get is like, oh, you're just cooking for rich snobs. It's like, no, you do get rich snobs, but you mostly, in my experience, you get just like people who are really deep into their careers, pretty stable and successful, that just need a break, that just need some help. And
yeah.
those are, no shade to my high profile clients, but those are really my favorites, because you're really seeing a difference like overnight. Like, you're really seeing how much it really impacts their life. And so that's something that I'm getting a lot. It's just those people that need a little bit of help in their homes. They're not famous, they're not super wealthy, but they have enough to throw into this luxury, and they do so. And I think it's smart.
What's that look like? Is that you in their house and prepping, or are you just delivering 2, 3, 6 meals? I mean, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's fairly new. Like I said, it's a trend. So we're still trying to figure out what works best. Some people want you in their home.
Mhm.
We do use a commissary kitchen space for meal preppings. That is something that people aren't afraid to use, but I've always just kind of felt a better connection when you're in their home, even if you're still meal prepping. You go there, you get there at 10 o'clock, you leave at like 3 or 4, and you get to spend a couple hours with them. Usually I'll serve a meal there as well. So if I
Yep.
do lunch, I guess at 1 o'clock, they'll have 3 more meals, different dishes for each person in the household to eat on for the next couple of days. You do that twice a week. People are really only ordering out once on the weekends, once or twice, I guess. And so that's really what it looks like, is me or another staff member going in to their house, serving a live meal, and then preparing their meals for the rest of the week in home.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure my wife listens, and if that's the case, you're gonna
Hey
be at
man,
our house sooner than we know.
this this doesn't have to be our last conversation. I'm not a salesman. I'm just a businessman and we do a good job. And so if you need that, Alex, you or anybody in your audience, don't be afraid to contact me. I'm all ears.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, I am certain that just was a tuning fork with many people out there. So tell us, you're super active on social, and you're a social, a digital native originally, right? As opposed to some of us that have to back into it and learn. And tell us a little bit how social has changed or impacted, your business.
Um, that is a good question. I can say this. It has impacted us just because of visibility. That's the easy answer. But I think less than it just being visible. Like, you can go viral for a lot of different reasons. I think
Sure.
we've been able, and me specifically, has just been able to really share the parts of people that I want to be associated with my brand. You see my handle, it's Chef Dev, and so a lot of people are assuming, rightfully so, that it's going to be food. I'm gonna post food videos, recipes, whatever it is, and I do those things. But I'm also able to, like, I just have a huge interest in gardening recently. For the past couple of years, I've started a garden in my backyard. It's something I've
Mm,
always wanted to do, and so I mean, it only kind of makes sense. Food and gardening and growing your own vegetables, like, it goes hand in hand. And so I've been able to kind of have some cool conversations just around that hobby in particular. I did, like I said, played high level sports. I didn't go pro, but if it wasn't for my knee, I would have.
mhm.
But I played college sports, and I think being able to kind of talk ball with just a lot of the guys that are reaching out to me as well, and share that part of me that people may not otherwise know, that's another connection piece as well. So social media in that regard has just been huge for me, because you don't get to just say everything about you when you first meet people. But what social media allows you to do is kind of curate an image of yourself. Some people use it for bad. I just choose to use it for, like, this is me in my entirety, and you take it or leave it. And I think a lot of people just appreciate that part of me, because I don't really hide much from myself from social media. I live a
Right.
private life, but at the same time, nothing is really a secret. And so I think people are just able to be like, Chef Dev cooks good food, but he's also just this guy. He's a family man, Christian man, upstanding dude. And I think, people are able to see that through the screen.
Well, there's no question, right? And gosh, when you live that way, isn't it make things a lot easier, right?
Heck
I've
yeah.
I've found that. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Well, no, I'm just kind of piggybacking off of you. Like, yeah, it helps because you're not putting on and taking off the mask. I think, when you're recording a video, when you're showing up on a podcast, all you have to do is wake up on time and talk,
Yeah.
and let the rest take care of itself. So that's what I do.
As long as your brand isn't a bow tie, that takes a minute to tie that on and get that ready to go. You could do you. What about
You're self-deprecating about this bow tie. I love it. I really
listen,
do. I know how it is. It's tough. It's weird at first.
you got to do it. You got to go with it because it gets, it goes a bunch of different ways. So we're good with it. I'll never forget the first time someone told me not to wear it. I was doing a teaching event in the Bahamas, and I was like, man, I got to wear it. It's my brand. And they were like,
Right.
no. You can't like it. And I learned this, and I thought this was really interesting. I didn't mean to share this. I didn't mean to interrupt it, but it's interesting. You've got to find that you got to be authentic and genuine to you, but not to your detriment. And when I was forcing my brand into someone else's culture, that was a problem.
Got it. I see what you're saying. I get it.
I didn't realize that, hey, like I was going to the Bahamas and, the tropical shirt and shorts or pants, was their culture. So it was a little bit, you had to blend and mirror and match, to who you're going to be with. Hawaii, I've taught, in Hawaii, and I have clients that have bought in Hawaii. And so we go through that. But again, you got to pivot, not to be forcing the culture. Quick sidebar to that. I will never forget, traveling is one of the best educators, and you love to travel and have for your clients, as have I. That's something we share, being Nashville based, being global impact and leaders, both for both of our clients.
Yeah.
I was in the Czech Republic. I was in Prague. And I wanted to blend. I wanted to, I grew up in Nashville. Like, we say hello, right? You say, good morning. How you doing? Good to see you. And that's just what we do.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do that in the 3 countries we were visiting. So I learned how to say good morning in all of these languages. So Czech in particular is really difficult to speak. And so I was walking down the street and saying good morning in Czech, which is dobrý den. Dobrý den. And so I'm walking down the street, and all these people kept looking at me like,
who's this guy?
Hell?
What?
Who is this dude?
Uh-huh.
And so I got back to our hotel, and I asked one of the concierges, I was like, hey, am I saying this correctly? And she says, actually, yes, that's very good. And she goes, why? And I said, well, I'm greeting people and saying good morning, and I'm getting these really weird looks, and people are obviously speaking quite quick to me, and I don't speak full Czech. I'm just trying to be polite and she said, don't do that.
I was waiting for you to say it. Listen, you said you were speaking Czech.
Yeah.
I get it, man. They're not the same. The Southern hospitality does not translate literally and figuratively. And I can tell you this because when I was in college, I had 2 teammates, one from Serbia, Belgrade in particular, and the other one, man, where was he from? I can't remember the country he was from off the top of my head, but I knew, it borders, the Czech Republic, and it's in that area of Europe.
Yeah.
And they're just not it's just not the same. Like, I mean, we went to school in Alabama, and they're wondering why everyone's saying hi. You're 7'1". That may have something to do with it, but it's just like, I'm like, yo, that's just what they do. Like, people say, hey, when they walk past you, and he's like, like, just go away. Like, why are we saying hi? Because you're not saying anything else. I get it. I wish I was hoping that was where the story went.
Yeah, man. I mean, she was like, you're freaking people out. And I'm like, how am I? I'm just trying to be polite. She goes, no, you're forcing your culture onto them. And that was such an experience that I was like, oh, she goes, and you're speaking Czech to Czechs who are unaccustomed to hearing broken Czech.
There you go.
And she's like, you need blessed and fortunate. You speak English and you're accustomed to hearing broken English. And she's like, wherever you're going to be, you're going to do better speaking broken English to any Czechs because they learn Czech through 14 years of primary school. Yeah. And she was like, you're going to do better getting along. And I just couldn't believe that. I didn't realize that I was having the opposite effect. And she goes, the other thing is Czechs don't greet just to greet. It's it's good morning. Where's the bathroom? Good morning. Right. I need some breakfast. Good morning. I need directions. And of course I didn't speak that much Czech. She was like, stop. We got way off the rails there.
That's fun. No, that's a funny story. I'm glad you shared that.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, and look, I don't know about you, but when I listen to podcasts, like I like the ones that go just a little, like go a little deeper dive there. Tell me, go a little more granular. Well, let's wrap up. We got a couple more things, but tell me one luxury experience or item that you think everyone should experience at least once.
Wow. I mean, the easy answer is a private chef, right? That's the easy answer. Okay, I'm gonna give you two because I genuinely believe that I do think having a private. Because I'll put it to you this way: I was a private chef before I experienced having a private dinner, and I think that's a little bit. And I think that's honestly, when you think about it, that's the case for most private chefs because it's not something you typically book. And so my first private chef was when me and my then girlfriend / fiance got engaged. That same night we got engaged, we were in Atlanta. One of my distant friends, we knew each other in college and we ended up going down similar paths. We hired him to be our private chef. So he had like a cool loft area that we went to in Atlanta. And I just remember him cooking this awesome meal. It's a 3-course meal. It had like a New York strip steak. He's from the Bay, Mobile, New Orleans area. So he made us like crawfish beignet. That was really cool. And I was just like, I was a private chef at that time for 2 years. And I was just like, if this is what I do for people, I'm really selling myself short because this is awesome. He was a really good cook, really personable, told us stories. Like, I think it's just a cool time when you have a private chef because it's like having a restaurant in your home. And so that is my easy answer. And I think that is just honestly my genuine one too. But another thing that I experienced as well that not everybody has gets on the regular, but, probably has experienced once or twice if you're an aging adult like ourselves, is it a massage, especially for people in my industry. Like, it's so hard to take care of your body. And so getting your back rubbed on, your legs, your arms, like I still don't make it a regular practice like I probably should. But I just notice whenever I get a massage and sit down for an hour, or sometimes I'll splurge and get the 90-minute.
Yeah.
Whenever I do that, it just makes my whole week just flow so much better. I don't have any back pain. Just looser, lighter, ready to go. I'm refreshed. And so that's just my two simple luxuries. I guess private chef isn't a simple one, but I think those are two things that people can really do for themselves, save up a little bit over a couple of weeks and splurge if you can, because it really does just change your day, changes your week.
It so does.
Yeah, you do that enough, it can change your life.
For sure. For sure. Amazing. Last question. This is our signature question that we leave the podcast with. So in your book of life, what is your current chapter and what is it called?
My current chapter is 29, and the name of it is This Year I Get Everything That I've Worked For. I believe it. I really do, dude. I really believe that, I'm not owed anything. I don't deserve anything, but I've worked for a lot. I've gotten a lot, and then there's still more that I have to get and to give. And, I really pride myself on not getting things and achieving just for achieving's sake. I'm an achiever. I know that part about myself. For some people, they love it and embrace it. For some people, it rubs them the wrong way. But I really do just like having a goal, specifically business goals, and just, meeting them, because, when you have a business goal and you reach it, you're oftentimes putting other people in a position to change their life. And I just think that's so cool. I know how rough it is in, restaurant kitchens. I think everyone, if you want to be a chef, you got to do it. But I know how it's not for everybody. Everyone that loves to cook and wants to make a career out of it is not cut out for the kitchen. And so I think when you're able to staff private chefs, when you're able to have catering events that people can just hop onto part-time and they still have a passion for cooking and can make a little money doing it, that's really awesome. And I think, that's the reason I kind of go after what I feel like I've worked for and have earned, because, not only am I able to provide a great life for myself and my family, but I'm able to also give people jobs and they can do the same for themselves and their families. And so, that's the chapter of my life that I'm in right now, is creating jobs for people, creating, a good economy within the culinary space, and just providing a good life for me and myself. I got a 4-month-old, her and my wife, they're sleeping right now. Like,
no doubt.
You look at them and it's just like, this is what I work for. And so
amen to that.
That's the stage of my life that I'm in right now. And I don't think that's really going to change for the next couple of years. So this might be a multi-year chapter.
No doubt. No doubt. Man, that's beautiful. I didn't even want to talk after you said that. Like, that's so inspiring and exciting. Yet I had to because it's a podcast.
That's right.
Final PS. I just thought of this, and we're going slightly off the rails, but
That's okay.
in this world in 2025, we have so much, content to consume. What content out there is the most authentic representation of what you do and your day to day?
Wow. Okay. Does it have to be online content?
No, it could be anything, anywhere.
Okay. That's okay. I'm glad you said that then. I think Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen. I think that show, I've auditioned for it a few times. I haven't been on it yet. I think that's their loss. But I haven't been on. And so that's something that I really want to go on that show. But B, I think it's a really accurate representation, not necessarily of private chef life, but just of the industry as a whole. And I think it's also kind of transformed over. I think Gordon's been doing that show for at least a decade, if not multiple decades, if not maybe 20 years. And so I think that show, it started off with him just being, quite honestly, an asshole, like throwing stuff, yelling, cussing, like, and our industry has just changed a little bit in that regard. Like, you're going to still see those chefs, but it's like, people aren't going to work for that. People aren't going to want to go to work and get abused. I'm sorry, not sorry. Like, people just aren't really with it. And so you can see how that show has evolved with Gordon and with the industry. And now it's more so about mentoring, and more so about like, hey, like, if you want to do this, you want this big chunk of money. I don't know what they give, this big chunk of money and this notoriety for winning. You got to beat these other chefs, bring your A game. You're going to be short of sleep. And then you're going to have to bring it. You're going to have to show people that are already tenured in this industry what you can do day in and day out, because you're only as good as your last dish. And all it takes in that show and many cooking shows is for you to have one off day, one off dish, and you're gone. And so sometimes that can be how it is as a chef, especially as a private chef, where you're working for clients. Maybe it's a one-off event. You only get one impression to make. You only have 6 pieces of chicken for 6 people, and you can't mess it up. And so that's just something that I really resonate with, because it's like, ooh, you burnt it, whatever, on Hell's Kitchen. It's like, it sucks. You gotta find a way to fix it, or you got to serve burnt whatever. And so that's just how it is.
Yep. You got to do different preparation. Otherwise, bake 8 in case you burn 2, or what have you. But that's amazing. Thank you for that indulgence. If people have connected and want to reach out to you, what's your favorite platform or medium for them to connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm available. You guys can honestly text me. No, I'm just kidding. That's a lot. That's a lot of eyeballs just for a phone number. But
I was getting ready to say, hold on.
No, man. Usually the best way for people to reach out to me is my email, devin@devinepps.com. So it's first name at first name, last name. On my website is also devinepps.com. I try to make it easy for people. And my Instagram and all social media platforms are _chefdev_. So it's sandwiched. And that's the best way. DM is fine. I try to respond to people within a day or two. Email is great. I try to do the same as well. And usually, if I have something that I think works for you guys, I'll usually redirect it to my phone, because I'm always in the kitchen and not on a computer. So
no doubt,
you'll end up getting my number anyway, and we'll go from there.
Any closing thoughts? You good with that? Anything you want to say as we wrap?
No, I just want to send my appreciation to you, Alex, man. I think this is an awesome podcast. This is my second one. And so this is not something I am super familiar with, but you've just made it easy to come on and talk about myself. It's not something that whether people realize it or not, I naturally do. I'm usually in the kitchen, just kind of being quiet or bossing people around. So this is new for me, and you made it really easy and approachable. So appreciate the time, the ability to share my story and my work with y'all. And I hope you guys, whether you're in Nashville or beyond, just want to get in the kitchen, get a private dinner going, or like Alex said, make his family happy and get a couple meal preps as well. And so whatever you need when it comes to food, I'm your guy.
No doubt. Well done, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Alex. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk Luxury. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to follow, rate, and share this with someone you know that would like to know more about the finer things in luxury and how things are done differently. I'm Alex, and I'll catch you next time as we keep defining what luxury really means.